The Drums of War, Chapter 5. On a recently upgraded vessel hurtling through hyperspace, the warp speed wagon had been a humble cyber trading vessel, and that humility was merely in the relation to her size. She was, in fact, the 15th most prosperous trading vessel in her guild, and while that guild didn't even make the rankings, Captain Alina Chen was proud of the distinction nonetheless. Why shouldn't she be? She'd worked these decks since she was just 12 years old, and had scraped and scrubbed and guiled her way up the ranks until the warp speed wagon was hers. All hers. Well, as all hers as any ship can be when you have to hire on a crew and suffer that they live aboard with you anyway. It helped that a crew were her friends. Mostly. Most of them were in the same boat as her, figuratively speaking, and then they sent the lion's share of their proceeds back to their families on their home planets for various reasons. Not all were as dire as keeping the family farm from going under thanks to the newest Prime Minister deciding that the price of grain needs to come down and never mind the costs of tractor maintenance, fertilizer, and the skill to make the barren patch of dirt give forth glorious green rice stalks. But then again, nobody liked to share how much of a crap hole their home planet was. It was a more unspoken thing, except with Marcus, who she relied on for more than as an XO. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was enough for the humble crew of the warp speed wagon. Or it had been, until upon the star tides we sing, had been murdered. Sure, she was more special to the Republic, but it's not like those suckers were the only Terrans out there in the stars. That ship represented the first time a human, or a Terran for that matter, managed to say hello to Xenos and not be immediately attacked, murdered, eaten, or disintegrated. It was kind of a big deal. And the fact that the Wee Sig was a merchant ship that rose to be a place of honor, where the stuck-up pricks of the Republican Navy sent their absolute best to chill out for the last few years of their service, kind of put the cherry on it for her and her crew. So, when she got blown up by the Aztec Dubans, or whatever they were called, it kind of pissed her and her crew off. So now the Warp Speed Wagon was renamed the Warp Speed Battle Wagon. Well, not officially or anything, but the crew had started it, and Captain Chen had no intention of stopping it. Sarah had surprised everyone when she was the one who suggested getting some payback for the Wee Sing. Not that anyone thought that she'd be against it. It was just surprising for the Doctor to be the one to come up with the idea. What wasn't surprising was how quickly everyone had agreed to retrofit the Warp Speed Wagon with military-grade weapons and battle screens, which those stuck-up pricks in the Republic will just sell you if you have enough money, and it won't blow your ship up, and thus the Warp Speed Battle Wagon was born. On the bridge of the temple ship Jupiter's Might, and lo, the place of Emperor's Respite was befouled by evil Xenos in the service of their profane god of death and destruction. The women of Romanova did wail, the patricians did sunder their robes, and the plebeians did beat their breasts at the sounding of doom. Then did the Senate convene, and though a veil of tears it was decreed that legions be raised to bring wrath of the gods upon the foul Xenos who dared taint a holy site with their profane worship. Council Fleet Admiral Lucius Maximus Decimus stood before the command altar with his counterpart for the expedition and narrowed his eyes. Are we certain the enemy will be present? They must be, Pontifex Maximus Quintus Versus intoned, for the auguries foretold a great battle there. Moreover, they must consolidate their gains. The Republic is a giant, and it takes time to rouse her. Yet, if they do not take what they can now, the Xenos shall find themselves shattered upon her spear, Consul General Octavia Aurelia mused. This is so, Consul Fleet Admiral Lucius Maximus agreed reluctantly. Yet it beggars belief that such a foe foolish enough to strike the Republic can exist after the true Emperor did strike down the Pretender with the Thunderbolt. Despair not, High Priestess Valeria Lunia chanted. We arrive and gaze upon the world. There you see the enemy ships. Like ticks, they gorge themselves on the lifeblood they did spill. Like vultures, they do cram the carrion down their gullets. Mars quakes in fury at the dishonor. Jupiter bellows at the injustice. Vulcan weeps at the destruction. Venus pales at the callousness. And Pluto grieves for those souls sent untimely to his domain. Look upon the enemy and know, even the Republic shall lord your swords. Consul Fleet Admiral Lucius Maximus grinned as the fleet exited hyperspace and saw as the priestess had described. Even better, someone decided to fight the Exarch on their own. In high orbit over one of the conquered worlds of the clans of Uldra, Acolyte Lord Zamzi Zabav regarding his conquest with disgust. Only about a third of the local dung beetles had been sacrificed. How dare such weaklings pretend sapience? Had offended the very commands of Uxur. May the stars tremble at his step. Just so, only a third, and yet Priest Lord Treglach Pylzer had ordered him to cease cleansing in favor of extracting the available resources with particular attention to shipbuilding materials. It wasn't the proper order of things, but the High Priestess had a vision of a mighty foe, so Priest Lord Treglach Pylzer had elected to prepare. Yet it had been nigh a week since the vision, and the foe had yet to appear. Perhaps they saw a quaking of the stars and became timid. Yet it was not his place to question the Priest Lord, lest he lose a hand, or even his head. Acolyte Lord Zamzi Avav was just thinking about how he might at least sacrifice a mere 1,000 of the beetle things and still fulfill the orders of extraction when alarms blared. An incoming vessel, which was strange, since his battle group of 3 battleships, 6 frigates, and a dozen cruisers should have made a single hostile vessel flee upon detecting the gravity shadows from hyperspace. He hadn't even ordered hyperspace interdiction for that reason. "Send the cruiser to the exit," he ordered offhandedly. Then, taking a fancy to the diversion, he ordered, "Put it on the main screen." "I obey," an initiate highborn said. The Acolyte Lord Zamzi Avav readied himself to feel the pleasure of witnessing the destruction of the unworthy. A sneer curled his lips as he saw the obviously aged merchant vessel slide out of hyperspace. But it slid from his face when the plasma lancers barely made the ship's shield shimmer. Then it appeared as if a new vessel fired actual mass into the cruiser, as it was torn asunder by impacts from that trajectory. "Send 2 frigates and escorts to deal with that thing," he ordered, with growing interest. "Order that they fully power their shields and hold on nothing back in weapons. This ship is more than it appears." Then he watched with interest as the lone vessel made a charge for the nearest frigate, and with its kinetic weapons nearly depleted its shields in the time it took for it to come to and return fire. Then, with the support of 2 escort cruisers, the unidentified vessel was finally forced to take evasive action, which is even more interesting because the maneuvers that the unidentified vessel undertook should have torn the ship of that size asunder, yet not so. Even still, the merchant vessel was surely doomed, as Acolyte Lord Zamzi Avav decided to order a battleship in to finish it off. However, further alarms sounded, more incoming ships. These were completely different. For the most part, they bristled with weapons platforms, communications arrays, and gaping maws of shuttle bay doors, except for what looked startlingly like a stone temple with engines. "Acolyte Lord!" they send a hail. "Display it!" There was no audio, merely a sanguine banner with golden Xena ruins. There was little doubt about what that meant when a solid rod of ferrous material passed through the bridge Acolyte Lord Zamzi was standing on. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.